So you actually consider something that's a museum and a meeting place to be a form of service?
It is the beginning of service. I would think that that's the theory of service, and then you must follow it up with the practicals, which is to actually go out into the society and serve the poorest and the needy who cannot come to your places of worship.
So what would the impact of interreligious connection have on service per se? Why do we need to create an expensive museum and learn about each other's friendship and each other's religion? We can just go out and serve the poor without all that effort.
That's a good thing to ask, because why do we need to create a church for that matter, or why do we need to create a temple for that matter? I think these are symbols of our culture. These are our identities. These also stand as a beacon of inspiration for generations. You see, today we are sitting here. Porciuncola was built 800 years ago or so, but we are today sitting in the same precincts and feeling inspired. Today St. Francis is not around to inspire us in his physical incarnation, but his work is inspiring us. So I haven't seen the poor that he has served, but I see this Porciuncola, which is in the spirit of dedication he has done for Jesus. So these centers are important, but they cannot be the only things. This is important because this tells the next generation, like a lighthouse shows the ships where the shores are. At the same time, lighthouse is not journey, but it does serve as a guiding light for people who are lost. So these centers are important, but that cannot be the end of all the efforts. These centers should inspire the young men and women, in fact, people of all faiths and from all walks of life, to actually practice what's being said here. When we say we are here to build a better world for everyone to live in, it's not just going to happen by sitting in one place. You have to go out and pull out people from those miserable circumstances in which they're living. And for them, as Mahatma Gandhi said, there are so many hungry people in the world that God must appear to them as bread. So for them, bread is God. That's what Jesus did. That's what St. Francis did. So while on one side they did build a small chapel and did preach, on the other side they did go out into the society and help the poorest and the needy. And I always say in society, it's about the survival of the weakest. And in a jungle, it's about the survival of the fittest. But in human evolutionary path, I think it's the survival of the weakest, and that's what all saints ought to do. And so this center should do.
So if the center focuses on prayer and friendship, then you would see service to others or to the poor as the fruit of friendship and as the fruit of prayer.
Absolutely. You just said when you have friends, you give gifts.
Yeah.
And when you have friends and you think the whole world is your friend, you have to go out and help your friend. A friend in need is a friend indeed. And therefore every community has to go out and help somebody in need. And that should be the outcome, that should be the end result of creating a center of inspiration here.
In other words, the service itself should be interreligious service.
Absolutely. There should not be any discrimination based on faith or based on religion. In fact, I had a conversation with somebody like you before in a forum, and they asked me that what about this religious charity or religious giving that is prescribed by all religions almost everywhere. They all give, but the issue is they want to give to their people of their community or their faith, and that has to be broken down and it should be opened up for everyone.
That's on the receiving side, but also on the giving side, the giving itself should be a collaborative action.
Should be a collaborative action, why not? I'm here, I cannot do some work in the, say, another country far away from here, but I might have a friend in you or somebody who can do that work for me, and that's how we can collaborate and work, and that's how we can serve more people. It's not about who is going and serving, it's about how the service is being done.
No, I meant actually that you would go out as teams, so there would be interreligious teams that go out and serve.
Why not? In fact, of all the hospitals that we run, we have people from all faiths who work there, and also all faiths who get treated there. Our students who study are from different walks of life, different communities and faiths, and we never discriminated about that. So I think that's what is the motto, that should be the purpose of every center.
The center that we're talking about here is as the museum, as hope, friendship, prayer. How does it relate to the various initiatives that you're already engaged in?
Oh yes, I just what we discussed just now, purpose, right? So what are these initiatives that we are engaged in? Whether it is social service, whether it is spiritual studies, or running free educational healthcare institutions. It's all about giving people a sense of purpose in life. See, when you're too full of yourself, you really don't have a purpose. You may think your purpose is to just keep looking after yourself, but then after some time you sort of grow tired of it. And you realize that's not the purpose why I'm here. And when you start doing good, or when you start sharing and caring and showing love to others, you find a sense of purpose in your life. And that is what I want to teach everybody in this world. What this center can do is it can show people who have lived a life of purpose. It can exhibit them. And it can demonstrate that these are the people who follow whatever religion, whatever faith, but they lived a life of purpose. And the purpose was higher than just looking after yourself and your comforts and your well-being. It was far more than that, and in that they found true happiness. I think that is something the younger generation is waiting to hear.
So there are two terms that come to mind as I listen to this conversation. The one is the notion of service and the other the notion of purpose. You could say they're coextensive. In other words, the purpose is service, but it seems to me the purpose is something higher than just
Higher
service.
than service. Service is the way.
So now we understand why we need this kind of a center. It's not just in order to train people. It's to help, I would say, individuals, communities, and religions rediscover a higher purpose in relation to one another.
Absolutely, you're right. And ultimately the real purpose for which we are here, which is to know the truth. Every religion talks about the truth. The truth is to know who you are. And I think that's something that this center can tell people. And because you are going to, as I said, if demonstrate through the lives of saints and like the Saint Francis of Assisi, and people will
No, this will
listen
go in
to
India, not here. This is the second project.
Okay, whichever way.
Yeah.
And inspiration can be anywhere. But however you think that we must leave a legacy for the next generation in the language, in a way they understand. You see, you can't open a old textbook of the Old Testament and ask them to sit and read. It has to be innovated in a way that for these times and these circumstances, for the new generation, religion has to really reinterpret itself, and that is what this center can do. It will help now people to learn more about each other.
If you had to put it all into one short wisdom phrase, which is your wish for the center, what would that be?
I think bringing the world together in love and acceptance.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything you would want to add?
No, I'm okay. I just wanted to know that while we build these centers, of course in Assisi, as you have been working it for such a long time, I would also like to see a smaller versions of it in different parts of the world for those who all cannot travel to a place like this. For them, there is some kind of a place to go to, and then whenever they can always come to us.
Well, there's always the internet for that. We can always create an online version of things.
Yes, but I'm not sure. Then this museum could have been on internet too. But there is some physical space people need where 10 of them come together.
I agree.
Sit down, sit around the thing, and then.
So we could create the McDonald's of interreligious museums.
Could be.
Little center everywhere.
Yes, little centers of it. So think of it not just as one project in one place, but probably with several smaller versions of it in different places.
It's funny because we are actually, I don't know if you know this, but you're actually touching on something fundamental to this vision, because I started out, we call this a center of friendship and hope. Now, hope is the acronym of House of Prayer and Education. Okay. That comes from a biblical prophecy that Jerusalem will be a place where all the nations will convene as a house of prayer. And the original vision was one for Jerusalem, and then I realized circumstances don't allow it, and I needed to conceptualize or to be inspired to come up with some interim concept that would lead to it. And we actually thought initially of multiple small centers like that, and then Assisi crystallized as an interim step. So the idea of interim steps or multiple steps was already there all along in the background, but actually my great dream, we were talking earlier how much life and energy God will give me to realize what my own purpose is, but my great dream is that from Assisi we make the journey to Jerusalem, which is such a spiritual capital in the world, that more people than any other place look to it, that too can have that presence to transform the hearts and minds.
And Jerusalem is very important for so many people in this world. Multiple faiths have emanated out of that one sacred spot. Probably a center like this, which brings people together again in love and acceptance, in friendship and fraternity, could be a good thought. And maybe many more in different places, who knows, one in each continent.
Let's work on it together.